everybody. Welcome to the Fandom Post Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Kate, and joining me this week is Kestrel.
Yo.
And Kane.
Hello.
And DJ.
Greetings.
And we are here to talk about anime, and we are going to be discussing the end of the summer season, and hopefully keep that shortish, and plow into... Kestrel's like, oh, that's funny.
Hey, have you ever listened to this podcast?
Yes. And
well, Kestrel, if you stopped bloviating all the time.
The fuck does that mean?
That's a word.
I don't believe it.
Expanding everyone's vocabulary.
Yeah, I guess.
That sounds like Kane just learned that word today and he wanted to show off.
Yeah, there's a little of that
No,
too.
they use it a lot in sports radio to talk about all the gas bags.
Oh, okay. And but the fall season has started. With a kind of a last-minute scramble to get all the shows licensed, and then, boom, we were in it. So, I'm actually watching things this season, so yay. But first, we have at least one piece of news, which kind of took me by surprise, and everybody by surprise, I think.
Yeah, we sure do. So, G-Kids licensed Evangelion. That's kind of crazy. So to get into the specifics of what we have so far, they have all the content that Netflix has. They're releasing it on Blu-ray next year. It's pretty clear that Kara has loosened up on what it takes to license that show, because nobody could get it for a decade, and now everyone's getting it everywhere. So, Netflix got it, Anime Unlimited licensed it in the UK and Ireland a few months ago whenever I covered that. Maybe a month ago, G-Kids just licensed it in US and Canada. I think the same day someone else licensed it in Taiwan. And it seems like they're probably going to be working with Anime Limited and Shout Factory, as they often do, because they are doing an Ultimate Edition, which is the same thing Anime Limited is doing for UK and Ireland. And they've worked with them before on some of those. I think they're doing the Weathering With You release kind of in tandem. So it might be something similar to that for that Ultimate Edition. Now, what's weird about this is that G-Kids does not license TV series. The only one they've ever licensed before is the Ronya the Robber's Daughter or whatever, which is a Ghibli series, which is obviously why they licensed that, because they have the entire Ghibli catalog. So for this, my guess is that maybe we're going to see them license the last Rebuild movie, even though Funimation has the first three. Because, it's been a long time since the last one. Funimation had a very rocky relationship with Kara for 3.0, and 1.0 is out of print now. So, and, they've kind of, thrown away all of the previous English adaptations of Evangelion. And we have no idea if we're getting the ADV dub on this new release, since obviously they completely redubbed it for no particular reason on Netflix. Just kind of, they want to control everything. They want it to be their brand. And it seems likely that they will require them to only have their new dub and subtitles on these discs. Hopefully they can get the ADV dub. But I think it's entirely possible that they also... that G-Kids also gets the last Rebuild movie, and Kara makes them use the new dub cast instead of the Funimation cast from the first three. So, a lot of speculation, but weird things have been happening with this license in the past few years. So, that all seems kind of likely to me, and that would give them the connection that would make this make sense, considering they never licensed TV series without some kind of connection to their movie library. And, we don't know if we're getting the old dub. We don't know if we're getting Fly Me to the Moon, which Netflix obviously did not have, and I care more about than the old dub, really. But we know we're finally getting the series on Blu-ray next year, and, that's the first time that anyone's been able to own it since ADV went out of business over a decade ago. So, yeah, it's pretty big news overall.
I'm gonna buy the shit out of it.
Yeah. I want to say I'm not going to get the Ultimate Edition if it's hundreds of dollars, because I don't care that much about the Evangelion TV series anymore. But
really?
Yeah.
You say that, but you're going to have the nicest version day one.
I mean, I am, because no matter how much it costs, I know that it's probably going to be nice. I hope it's going to be nice. But it's certainly going to sell out very quickly, assuming it's even a little bit limited.
Oh, definitely.
Which means I will regret it if I don't buy it immediately. So yeah, I'm going to get it. No doubt.
I still haven't even watched the first or the second 2 rebuilds. I only saw the first one.
Oh man, see, Evangelion 2.0 is my favorite thing Evangelion by far.
Really?
Yeah, it's definitely the best.
Yeah.
After that, it sucks.
Yeah, 3.0 is not good.
Was 3.0 that bad?
I mean, it wasn't that bad, but for Evangelion, it was bad.
I saw I was at the Otakon when they played like was it the U.S. or East Coast premiere? Whichever it was.
U.S. premiere, and very important. I'll let you finish.
Yeah, and at least in the area I was sitting in, fucking crickets when it was done. Everyone
Not
was
as bad
like,
as the Eureka 7 movie, right?
yeah, at least it wasn't as bad as that, because at the Eureka 7 movie, people were like laughing while the director was there. Like,
That's
just
bad.
like laughing at how bad it was. So it wasn't that bad, but it definitely wasn't very well received by the audience, including me and my friends. Like, we were all just kind of underwhelmed in general.
Especially after how amazing 2.0 was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I was kind of going to go into this, actually, when I was talking about how Funimation had a rocky relationship with 3.0. That Otakon premiere you saw was the premiere of the original English script that they came up with. And then it took several years for them to actually release the movie on Blu-ray, and it had a completely different English script because Kara had a bunch of problems with their original script, and a big part of it was that they had a bunch of producers at that Otakon premiere judging the audience reactions, and they thought that their original translation did not convey the intent well enough, and so they had like all their producers and Ono involved in like checking every little bit of the translation work they were doing, and that, you know, delayed the release of the movie several years, resulted in a completely different translation, and probably both resulted in the reality we did see of a brand new dub and subtitle script for the series, and the possible eventuality that they don't license the final rebuild movie to Funimation. So yeah,
So
that Otakon premiere had a great significance to the franchise.
That's cool when they take the wrong lesson away from why your audience is completely not connecting with the work.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what's all offered with the Blu-ray, because yeah, the only thing I own for the original TV series is a set of bootleg DVDs I bought when I was first getting into anime.
Yeah,
and I've held on to them just because for a bootleg set, it's surprisingly nice. Like it has like a full, like it folds out, and the disc art matches like the fold art and everything. And I mean, it still uses like Times New Roman font everywhere. But the quality of the discs are surprisingly good, and then the quality of the actual box it came in was pretty good. And then when I saw the prices of like the Platinum Collection and the Perfect Collection and all that, I was like, no, I'm good with these bootlegs. I can just fucking wait.
Yeah, I'm glad that I managed to get the Platinum Perfect Collection tin before that went out of print. I think, yeah, it was before ADV went under. So I got that. It was like at FYE, so it was MSRP, so it was a lot of money. But at least it wasn't the kind of money that you had to spend to own Evangelion legally for the past 10 years. And yeah, so I have the nicest version that has existed, and I get to have the old dub if it doesn't appear on this new release, and Fly Me to the Moon if it doesn't as well, which I sure as hell hope it does. But even if the new version has everything that you could possibly want, I'm still going to keep the old one because it's a nice set.
Yeah, how much does that resell for now? Like the Platinum? I mean, it's been years since I've looked, but I can only imagine it's gone up.
Yeah,
just
I wonder,
because scarcity and people getting a copy and holding on to it, or copies getting, destroyed, just because at the end of the day, they're still DVDs.
I'm going to guess it's less now than it was 2 years ago before it was announced that Netflix would have the show. and probably more than it was a week ago, when we still didn't know if we were ever getting another physical release. Because now, like, when Discotek announced Hajime no Ippo, I immediately listed all my DVDs. And yeah, I sold a few of them pretty quickly, but it's kind of hard to get rid of the last few. I think people are catching on.
Cool. Well, I'm excited. So we will see.
Yep.
So, I don't think we have any other news, do we? Nothing
No,
late breaking?
Funimation has Log Horizon 3, which is bizarre. I didn't put
Oh
that on
yeah,
there.
that was the other thing I forgot about. That was
Yeah.
weird. Not
That's
super
weird.
weird, but weird.
It's a little weird.
It's a little weird. I wonder what happened there.
Yeah.
Oh,
There was
that's
also
bizarre.
the Spriggan announcement, which I'm excited for personally.
Yeah, I have
That's-
no association with Spriggan, but you can talk about that if you got something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton. I mean, I watched it with my friends a long time ago, and it's a movie that came out, I think, around the same time that Akira did, so it was kind of overshadowed, especially since they're both action-y, sci-fi stuff. But it was a really cool premise. Like, the story wasn't great, but the action was, like, super well, like, animated and directed. And then I think it said, like, David Production is doing it for Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the action in Fire Force is the only thing I really liked about that show. So, I mean, I'm pretty excited about it. I thought it was a movie at first, but apparently it's going to be a series, which intrigues me a little bit because the story was already not the greatest in a 90-minute movie, and now they're going to try and stretch it into a TV show. So I feel like it's either going to be better because of that, or it's just going to make a bad story worse. Because it'll just get more and more convoluted.
It's based on a manga series, right? So did they maybe condense it into the movie, and that's why it wasn't so good?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know. Like I said, I didn't really do a whole lot of research into it other than just knowing that I watched it and all my friends and I really enjoyed it for the action and everything and the aesthetic. But that wouldn't surprise me if it was just a classic case of that, just over compressing everything into a movie. So if that's the case, well then maybe turning it into a TV show is actually going to do it justice in a way.
Yeah.
I don't think it has any type of like release date other than 2021.
Mm-hmm.
But everything
it's just
else is a
announced.
complete mystery.
Yeah.
But that's really all I have to say about that. Just a general cautious optimism.
Seems about how this year's going.
Yeah, really.
Very cautious.
Extremely cautious.
Also, the Berserk news was not news. That's
Oh, yeah, that was a big fat nothing. Should have. We didn't have the nothing on our bingo card. We were expecting the worst, and instead we got nothing.
No, I knew there was a good chance of it being nothing, because a lot of times when they say there's a big announcement coming, it's often nothing.
What is it, like an
Alright.
art exhibition or something?
It sounded like it, and then they wanted to build a life-size model of Zod or something. I don't.
Yeah, they're going to crowdfund
Yeah, that's dumb.
Cool.
that.
Okay. Yeah, it's like, could you put that money maybe towards, I don't know, a better TV series?
Impossible.
That's a weird thing to crowdfund.
Yeah, talk
Who
Who
about
Weird
it.
thing in
crowdfunds a
general.
statue?
Yeah.
And especially of Zod. It's like, why?
Well, Zod's a cool design. Like, there's a Tsume art figure. I don't know if you're familiar with their figures, but they're the most expensive things next to the life-size Rem. And it's pretty amazing. So, I can see it.
A life-size Rem figure is on my wish list, though.
Isn't that thing like $30,000?
I think
No,
more.
it's
I think it's like
40,000.
40. Yeah.
God.
How
It's
could I
an
have been so
absurd
foolish?
amount of money. I wonder how many people like actually bought it.
I mean, only 10 exist in the world, and only 3 of them are being sold in the US. And, well, it's still available, so...
Why are there I just looked up Zod figure. Why are there so many Zod figures?
It's a cool design.
Oh my god. There are so many Zod figures. This is ridiculous.
They made fucking 666 pieces of this figure.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Fucking metal, dude.
That's the most
Fucking
metal.
right, brah.
All right. I guess we'll just dive into the summer wrap up. So, I watched nothing, so you guys can take it away.
Did Kane also watch nothing? I can't remember.
Correct.
Okay, so it's just me and Kestrel. I only kept, I think, by the end of the season, I was down to 5 shows that I finished, I think. So, Kestrel literally doubled me. But, among the 5 that I finished, if you take off One Piece, because I don't watch that, Kestrel and I have the same exact top 3 and the same exact grades for all of them.
Ooh.
So that's cool.
It's unusual.
Yeah, it is unusual. So I guess we can not talk about those first. And I guess I'll briefly touch on the other 2 shows that I've got, because I know we wanted to keep the summer section kind of short. But I talked a good amount of shit on the Misfit of Demon King Academy during the airing of that show. And now that the show is complete, I can safely say that most of that is accurate.
Nice.
It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible either. It was enjoyable from start to finish in like the least form of enjoyment possible in a weird way. It sounds strange to say because my grade for it is still like a C, but it was a C where I wasn't ever really tempted to drop the show. I was like, okay, cool, I'll keep going, because they kept throwing things that I didn't expect at me, and that was enough to just push me forward. But it's not good. It's not utterly horrible either, and I don't really recommend it to anybody, but for those that did watch it, I can say cool. And that's basically my summation. Just cool. Other show.
I've had shows like that before.
Yeah,
so
it's every once in a while you'll get something where it's just like, yeah, that was okay, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm never gonna revisit it, but yeah, neat.
That was me and Irregular Magic High School. I was just somehow enticed by it, even though it's entirely average.
Yeah, that's hilarious because those shows are like the same thing, except the personality of the main character is like reversed. Like this show is basically the Irregular at Demon High School. He's the same character. He looks exactly the same. He's just as overpowered, except instead of having no personality, he has an overabundance of personality.
I think that's what drew me to the guy from Irregular Magic High School. He was so devoid of personality that it was almost comedic. And so my friends and I were just watching it as a comedy show.
It's the opposite for this. The guy has so much personality that it is like the comedic force in the show.
Yep.
I mean, he was definitely a fun character. Out of everybody, he was my favorite character, and there were some cute girls in that show, so that's saying a lot.
Yeah,
that's saying a lot.
The rest of the characters were just your typical harem archetypes.
Oh yeah,
so
definitely.
I definitely agree that he was the best character.
It was fine though. Like, I'd probably give a second season a shot. It won't have one because it was a pretty definitive end, but it was enough. It was sufficient. Second show, I liked it significantly more as time went on, and that is Rent a Girlfriend. The protagonist sucked all the way up to the end, but they try really hard to make him not suck anymore. So I respect them for that. It's just he's irredeemable, and there is nothing that they can do. Like, he literally jumps off of a fucking boat to save one of the girls, and like almost drowns and shit, and I still hate him. Like, they just kept making him do all this like really cool guy shit, and he sucks. But all of the female characters are really fun, except for Mommy. She sucks too.
Mm-hmm.
So, what kind of boat are we talking about?
Like a yacht. Like it. Well,
shit!
More of a ferry. More of a ferry than a yacht. It's because they like went on like a mini vacation thing to a beach, and they had to take like a boat to get there, but it looked bigger than a ferry. I don't know. It was a pretty big boat. And he
so
fucking
it wasn't like he jumped off a
it.
dinghy or something.
No, it was like a canoe. He like straight up jumps off of like an actual boat, like a good 20 feet or 20-foot fall into water. And it was cool. Yeah, it's like heroic and whatever, but it means nothing if you're gonna go home, cry, and jerk off. Like, that's like, it just
that was his character.
Completely ruins the cool stuff that you do. The other two girls that Kestrel never got to see are definitely much better than Mommy was. So there was that too. And it is getting a second season that I will definitely be watching. Because if anything else, it's just fun. So yeah, those are the two that I finished that are not on Kestrel's top 5.
Excellent. Continue. Onward.
I will actually ask Kestrel a question now.
Yes.
Because there is something I see on your list that it strikes me as slightly curious, and that is...
All right.
Is it... Do you know what I'm going to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Man, he knows this shit is coming.
Well, it's the fact... How did Food Wars
I know.
end up at a B+?
I know.
You just complained about it the whole season.
Okay, so I wrote like my, post of my thoughts on the season, and this took up like an entire browser page. Just a wall of text about the show, and
Jesus.
me debating back and forth about is this a B+ or is it a C+?
Having a very Golem Schmeagol moment.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't quite as much of a breakdown as I had with Sword Art Online, but yeah, it's tough because it has a lot of problems. But I don't know, it's being as invested in the characters as I am, and the show's style of presentation and the quality of what it does really well. I did really appreciate all of those factors continuing to be strong throughout the final arc and culminating in a surprisingly satisfactory conclusion, as well as some really decent final few shokugekis, or I guess they weren't technically because they weren't at Totsuki, but cooking battles. So I really appreciate all that stuff. I still really love their attention to detail for their food porn. It's still the most amazing thing. And some of the creativity involved in the protagonists' recipes, and how they can be innovative, and the music that plays when they're cooking and all that. But everything about the villains and the plot was just the dumbest shit. And some of it just absolutely unforgivable. Specifically, the
Chainsaw Girl.
Well, no, Chainsaw Girl was bad. All of the villains have some fucking stupid ass gimmick like that. Even like the main villain, his gimmick is just Mimasaka's gimmick again. And they like acknowledge it in show. They're like, "Hey, didn't we already do this?"
Which one was that?
Mimasaka, I don't know. You only watched the first season, right? So you wouldn't know him.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't know him at all. Okay.
Yeah. And like he had a good gimmick, and it worked into his character, and there were some really funny moments that came out of it. But this guy just copies it, and which is funny because the gimmick is copying. Except it's not as fleshed out, and he's just perfect at everything for no particular reason. So that's boring, and all the other villains have just really stupid, over-the-top gimmicks. But one of them is just the most offensive homophobic stereotype that you could possibly concoct.
Oh, they put one of those in there.
Yeah,
Glad to see anime is still doing that.
Oh, yep, it sure is. Shonen Jump has not grown up. Yeah, and it's like every one of the worst examples you can think of, it's worse than that.
Ugh.
Yeah, and it was just an entire episode dedicated to him and his whole, group of whatever they're supposed to be.
That's a trope we need to get rid of.
Yeah, like really bad. And I hadn't seen it like that bad for a while, but this just spent the entire episode being as horribly offensive and homophobic and ignorant as possible, and just conflating every type of being gay means that you're a crossdresser and a drag queen, transvestite, child molester, predator, rapist,
Oh
fucking
God.
creep. Yeah. So all the bad shit that could possibly go with that type of characterization, sure does. That's bad.
At the same time, I see that your grade for God of High School dropped quite a bit.
Yeah, this was another one where I was kind of two minds depending on how I look at the show. Before it was I think A minus to B maybe. Now it's like B to C plus. Um, yeah, it did not know what to do with its story at all. Maybe it just tried to cram like I don't know 100 chapters into 13 episodes or something, but it starts off with a plot and then partway through it like skips all the steps that shonen action manga usually have in between, simple high school martial arts tournament premise and crazy cosmic end of the world type shit. And
Yeah,
yeah, this
those
just
are you
skipped.
can't just go from one to the other. Like
Yeah,
there a period in between those two things.
yeah, you can't just go from 1 to 100. That usually takes like several hundreds of episodes of build up, and this just did it with a snap of the finger and basically no explanation. Like I don't believe that anyone who watched that show really knew what was going on by the end of it. Um, and it had some spectacular action sequences, and it was really well directed, really well choreographed. Everything about it on a technical level was pretty incredible all the way through, and it's the same studio director team behind Jujutsu Kaisen this season, um, which also displays some really incredible action animation spectacle. But yeah, the story, man, something went horribly wrong with that. I don't know if it was the source material or just the speed of adaptation, but it did not work out.
Well, darn.
Yeah, a bummer. Had a lot of potential.
Is there anything else that we didn't have in common that you wanted to touch on before we go into Fruits Basket?
Uh, I don't need to reiterate my psychological breakdown that Sword Art Online causes me here, but if any of you want to go read that post, feel free. So go ahead.
Okay, so Fruits Basket second season is finished. We're getting one more. I think just one more core in general.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it a lot because we got a lot of Yuki this season. I love him. And there were some interesting developments that I did not see coming. That I think I saw coming, and I guess I'm just gonna start spoiling stuff for Fruits Basket at this point. So if you watch Fruits Basket and don't want it spoiled, just skip ahead to whenever. Um, Season 1, I was like, yo, Akito's a girl. And then just further along the line, I just decided that just wasn't the case anymore. And now it is confirmed that Akito is a girl. And I don't know why I ever stopped believing that in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, you're certainly not wrong to have believed she was a boy because
That was like a big
know,
reveal. Like,
right,
Toro was
it was
like,
a big
what?
reveal. And actually, I didn't see the original Fruits Basket anime, but the creators of that had no idea that she was a girl to the point that they gave her a male voice actor and had a scene with his shirt off, where the character was clearly male there. So that's pretty funny. But yeah, I was surprised when I read the manga. I wonder, since I already knew this going into the anime, I was always wondering as I was watching it, is anyone who hasn't seen or hasn't read the manga picked up on the fact that they make sure to never use gender specific pronouns
That's
with the
why I was
character?
like so confused because I was like dead set like Akito's definitely a girl, and then like something happened that made me just not believe it anymore, and I don't know
Mhm.
what it was. So it's strange to me that like I stopped thinking that only to have it revealed again.
Mhm.
But yeah, that and I still don't fully understand how Yuki looks at Toru. Like there was like an entire episode dedicated to his feelings on her, and I still don't understand them. Because I feel like half of the episode was dedicated to just like, she's more like a mother figure than anything. But then it's like, but also, what if she wasn't? And that's where I'm like, what?
I think he's got a little bit of Shinji Ikari Oedipus complex going on.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Like, I'm still rooting for them all the way. But I'm starting to not think it will happen. And that makes me mad, because I don't like Yo.
Yeah, I definitely appreciated a lot of the development that Yuki got in the season, and there are a lot of things about his character that I can't relate to, like his incredible popularity. But there are a lot of aspects about how he sees himself that I find incredibly relatable and makes me empathize with him greatly. And yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite characters as well. And I was definitely looking forward to a lot of what the later parts of this season were going to adapt from the manga. And I think the quality of the adaptation is improving alongside the quality of the material. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, Yuki was definitely the all-star. But I feel like in true Fruits Basket fashion, I'm finding pretty much everyone had like one really big emotional climax this season, which is cool. Like even the side characters showed up and like just broke everyone's heart for an episode. So now it's like it really feels like everyone in this show has an extensive backstory and like could have their own story, just like a standalone thing. And I really respect that, because there are a lot of side characters and other things that are never really fleshed out. And to see so much care put into a character who will show up for literally one episode is quite good. And I really respect it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the key aspects, along with just the general emotional depth and complexity and maturity, that sets the series apart from, certainly its contemporaries. Like, I forget that this is supposed to be a 90s shoujo romance manga, because, like, it doesn't resemble any of the other ones, even a little
Not
bit.
at all.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a huge part of it, is that it has so many characters. They're all so fleshed out. They have such rich backstories and such complex emotional arcs and feelings, all different explorations of what love can mean. And yeah, I think the fact that quite a few side characters' stories also involve Yuki was part of the reason why he definitely had more of that material than anyone else. But yeah, it's a really great overall cast dynamic.
Okay, well, speaking of extensive casts, I guess we can move right on to ReZero, which I watched the last episode for today. And it was certainly an interesting season. A lot of things happened in a short amount of time, but also nothing happened at all. Like, we're exactly where we started, pretty much. But we know a lot more. And some of the reveals that we got were pretty shocking.
DJ, would you say we started over from zero?
I'm not gonna dignify that with response.
Acceptable.
We're starting over from like 5, because like we weren't at 0 when this season started. But I guess spoilers for ReZero time. So skip ahead if you don't want that spoiled either, or spoiled. Fucking New Rosewall was gonna be weird or some shit. He was always sketchy, and now we know he's sketchy. And he punched through Ram, and I'm mad. Subaru just fucking can't catch a break, dude. Like, he's just having a horrible time.
I do find it somewhat hilarious how every episode of ReZero has to end on some horribly tragic, traumatic cliffhanger.
Like really,
Like-
all of
like
them.
at this point, it doesn't even like have that much of an impact anymore.
You just
because
expect
know
it.
it's gonna happen.
It's like,
yeah.
I wonder what ridiculous thing is gonna happen at the end of this episode. Oh, 1,000,000 zombie rabbits? Yeah, that makes sense.
Just gonna eat them alive.
What a
Everything was going fine.
fucking
and
weird show. Anything can happen in this, and I'm just like, yes, this is
then,
possible.
Yeah. The only thing that's certain is that Subaru will either die a horrible death or be faced with a fate worse than death by the end of every episode,
Yeah.
no matter how good things are going.
Poor guy. Yeah, but I really love it. It's definitely super dramatic, and I care deeply for most of the characters. Even fucking Otto now. I'm like, yo, you're a fucking awesome dude. And like, the ground dragon is now in the running for best girl, which is like a thing. So, yeah, ReZero is probably my, I don't know. I want to call it my favorite isekai, but then Konosuba also exists. And they're just like two extremes in completely different ways. But there's never like any point in either of those series where I'm just not having fun anymore. So,
Well, I think ReZero has a lot of points where you're maybe not having fun, but that doesn't mean it's not good.
You're not supposed to have fun, but like,
Right.
yeah, it's definitely evocative.
Mhm. Yeah, I think at the end of every season of ReZero, obviously there's only been 2 so far, but I always think like this is obviously the best isekai anime ever. But you know, in the 4 years since the first season of ReZero, I kind of, I don't know, got less enthusiastic about it. I never stopped liking it. It's definitely always one of my favorite isekai. But I wasn't as big into it as I was when it was airing and after it finished, and now that I am with the second season. So I'm curious to see if this enthusiasm kind of fades away as well. But I'm glad that we're
Probably
getting another
will.
one next season.
Yeah, I think January it comes out.
Yeah.
What you were saying about just the enthusiasm gradually fading away. That's how I've been with virtually every single show that's had like a long gap in between seasons. Like Attack on Titan is like the example of that in my head, where it
Right.
ended and I'm like, that was awesome. But like 3 years later, I'm like, it was okay.
Yeah, definitely they missed their shot on that one. I think for ReZero, I think it's more drastic than a lot of series, and I think a big part of the reason is just that it's such a gripping, traumatic experience while you're watching it week
There's
to week.
so much shit in that show.
Yeah.
Like when this season was starting up, I couldn't fucking remember anything. There was just so much that I
Yeah.
was like, wait, what?
There's a little bit of that, yeah.
Yeah. So from I guess in that 4-year gap definitely didn't help in retaining any of the important information that was carried over into the story, which literally picks up right after the first season stops.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was not a great experience, but now that the experience is over, I'm enthusiastic again. Hooray.
Something that you said about how you were having fun watching ReZero. I was trying to remember what I had compared it to in that post that I did about the season, and I realized it was part of my Sword Art Online rant. And my comparison was somehow ReZero's visceral torture is delightful, while SAO's self-insert wish fulfillment is unbearable.
It's like
So yeah.
I've never, well, I mean, I've watched Sword Art, but I never even finished the first season of it.
Mhm.
And so, it being such a popular series, I'm constantly hearing people talk about it. And this season in particular, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about it, and it's normally in really good fashion. Like, everyone I know that's watching Alicization, is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alicization.
Whatever. Everyone watching that is like, yo, this is great. Sword Art's good again. And I don't even like know what's going on anymore. Like what?
Yeah.
How is the story still going?
I wish I could tell you. I wish I could tell you that it wasn't, but even this season, after like 50 episodes, which makes a total of like 100 episodes for the anime so far, even it ended on a cliffhanger to begin a completely unrelated arc.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's basically just like Kirito just can't stop getting himself stuck in like life-threatening VR games. Like he just never learns. It's basically what the plot comes down to.
That's ridiculous. Is it like, okay, another thing I'm confused about, like him and Asuna are a thing, right? Like they're together, correct? Okay. And it's still a harem?
Oh, it sure as fuck is.
That's so strange. like somebody already won. You can't keep going.
I knew 100% at the beginning of this latest core that when Kirito came back into the story, I guess we're spoiling everything, that we would go through scenes where every female character had a little monologue about how much they're in love with Kirito. And sure enough,
oh my god,
episodes, precisely that.
Does he ever like seem tempted or anything, or is it always like, I love Amelia, like that sort of thing?
I feel like he's kind of still oblivious enough that they can be like, I'm in love with you, and he'll be like, you're a good friend. Yeah.
Oh god, anime protagonist syndrome.
I mean, like, okay, so in the last episode of this latest season of Sword Art Online, he gets the new female protagonist of Alicization shipped to him naked in a box.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair.
Like one does.
Amazon Prime.
There's a little bit of like, oh, a naked lady, going on in that scene. But yeah, I mean, he's never like he goes a little further than you probably should as someone in a relationship, I would say, especially by like most anime standards, where that's very sacred. Like, you know, you fall in love and then you confess your feelings and then you
literally never look at anyone else
of
ever
marriage
again.
Yeah, exactly. So he's gone a little farther than maybe you should at that point.
Is Asuna like even involved anymore? Like, does she know about this? This is like the part of Sword Art that I'm interested in, like the romantic dissection of everything.
Yeah, I mean, she's standing there when every other one of the dozen girls is like, I'm in love with Kirito.
What the fuck? Like,
I
what's
feel-
going
what does
through
she
her
do?
head? She's like, okay.
Yeah, does it show her reacting, or is she just straight faced the whole time?
I wish they just like showed a reaction, like shot of her every single time a girl confessed, just like blank face.
Or if they turned it into like an anime Maury episode and she just goes berserk.
I was gonna say like a Japanese, reaction, picture in picture kind of thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah. No, I mean, even though she is the winner, and maybe she's fine with it because she knows that she's won, she's just kind of like the president of the Kirito fan club. So she's like, she gets it. She's like, oh yeah, totally, he's awesome, isn't he? She doesn't really seem offended that they're all like, I really want to fuck your boyfriend.
What a cool girl.
I think this is why my friends and I really liked Irregular Magic High School so much, because it was a harem and all these girls kept going up to the main protagonist and confessing their love, and then he'd just be like, all right, that's cool, I guess, and then he would just keep doing his shit.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. They're definitely not quite the same character type, but yeah, Kirito, he definitely hasn't grown at all. He's definitely still just the same kind of boring isekai hero protagonist
he was
in
like
episode 1.
He was the reason that I just never had any interest in watching that show. And I've come to find that pretty much every protagonist and everything that Reiki Kawahara has done is like that. They all suck, but Kirito sucks in the sense that he's just nothing. And Haruyuki sucked in the fact that he just sucked in Excel World. You just don't remember. He just sucked in general.
In the tradition of spoiling stuff on this episode, for about a core and a half of Alicization, Kirito is in a vegetative state. And nothing of value is lost.
Yeah, what
So
even
the deepest
happened
he's
like
ever
while he
been.
was gone? Like what? Isn't he just like the show at this point?
Yeah. Well, see, that's why a lot of it was pretty good, because Alice, who is the new, harem member, basically became the protagonist for pretty much a full core, and then her and Asuna kind of split duties for about half a core, with the rest of the harem, in supporting roles.
What a fucking weird show.
It's a weird show, and the way this season ended was especially weird. So I don't know if I'm going to be watching more.
You will.
I don't want to, but I probably will.
Yeah, you will.
And it's bad.
And you'll buy the Blu-rays.
No, I stopped doing that. I sold most of them. I'm probably going to sell the rest. Because, I acknowledged that the second season was very bad. The first season was pretty bad. Most of Alicization is okay. And that's why, my problem was that I gave it a shot. By the time I already acknowledged that Sword Art Online 2 was bad, I started Season 3, which was a mistake, because it was not bad. And that meant that I had to watch another 50 episodes. And now, at the end of it, while it's giving me a cliffhanger for another arc, and they announced another Sword Art Online anime that's not the next arc, but an adaptation of Progressive, which is another light novel series that Kawahara was writing at the same time that retells the first arc of the series, just longer. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Wait, they're making an anime for that now?
They are. Yep.
What the fuck are they doing?
Getting that
They
money.
confused me. I tried to watch the one spin-off from I think a year or 2 years ago.
That was
it was
really
just
bad,
the girl in the pink. That was horrible. So,
but Progressive is just the Aincrad arc again, except they actually go into detail of every floor, I guess. And I don't know if that'll make it better or worse.
They should have just done that to begin with.
Yeah, I don't know why, especially since Kawahara wrote both of the light novel series. He's still writing both of them concurrently. So yeah, I don't know. I guess he just wanted to get to Kirito and Asuna fuck, and then they win the game or not, or the game breaks down or whatever the fuck happens. And didn't want to go into detail at the time, but I guess, I don't know, maybe people were curious, and so he went back and went into that. I don't know.
I want to say it's impressive how much he's able to put out, but then you realize that literally everything he's put out is the same thing over and over, and so it's just significantly less impressive.
It's like the anime version of Madden.
Oh my god, it is. It really is.
Yeah, every protagonist is the same bland self-insert, surrounded by all of your harem archetypes.
Who still like him just because he's the protagonist.
Exactly.
That's the only reason.
Caught up in some video game VR, AR experience, where every villain is just the most ridiculous, over-the-top, inhuman, sadistic rapist character.
Yep.
That's it.
Sounds about right.
Yep. Checks the boxes.
Watch the cash flow in. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, there's one more thing that is good, not bad anymore, and that is the final season of my teen romantic comedy is not what I expected, and I think it has one of my favorite final episodes ever. It was everything that I wanted, and it was such a good ending to that show. Because I've been following it for what seems like 50 years at this point, when realistically it's probably 8.
7 years since the first season.
Is it 7?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's just the fact that they were able to close out every single character that I have just grown to care for over that time in a way that made me happy was not something I expected them to be able to do. And there was a clear winner. It wasn't who I wanted to win, but I still came around that last episode because it was one of the cutest things that I've ever seen. So I adored this season. I think it is the perfect wrap up to teen rom-com, and I'd be fine watching like 10 more seasons of them just hanging out doing stuff together because they're all so good. It's one of the few high school shows where everybody feels like a real person. And that's why I always cite this as like probably my favorite high school anime, which is a big statement considering like 75% of them are in high school now.
Right.
But I absolutely adore it, and everyone really grew a lot, and it's just a great show altogether.
Now, you said the title was not as I expected, but it's that the romantic comedy is wrong as I expected.
Sorry.
Which I was going to lead into the conclusion of the series was as I expected.
Yeah.
Everything happened exactly as I expected it to, which I guess is in keeping with the tradition of the title, which is, the final line of the series and the final episode title.
It was always going to be.
Right.
we all knew that would be the line.
Yeah. But yeah, the winner I knew was going to be the winner since the beginning of the series.
Absolutely.
I think it's pretty clear.
She was always going to win, but I didn't want her to.
I agree. She wasn't my preference either, but yeah, all of the characters are great. Obviously, Hachiman is the best, and just his dissection of high school society is one of the best parts of the series, and that's why the light novel is so good, because you can go into so much detail with it taking place inside his head, and you can just have pages of thoughts. And yeah, I think it captures that brilliantly in the writing and on his cynical commentary of it. And even though the high school dynamics in Japan are obviously very different from the US, there are some things that are just universal, especially for our generation or the generation before or after. And that's always been a huge part of what makes that show so special, and why it can have such an incredible final season when it's mostly just about them trying to plan a prom.
That's whole
basically
season
the
was
whole
planning
season.
a prom. That's literally all they did, but it still was the perfect ending to, well, not ending, I guess, beginning in a sense to their relationship. So it felt so true, to just how high school is. The end of high school, it's just everything boils up, and just so many things start colliding with each other, and it's the perfect moment to bring every relationship to either an ending or a beginning, and I'm glad that everything gets to begin, quote unquote, in a sense.
So you're hoping for a Oregairu after story?
I would 100% watch an after story. It won't happen, but I would 100% watch it.
I'm glad that it got to have a conclusion, because a lot of light novel adaptations do not get that. A lot of light novels don't get that.
If no one won in this fucking show, I was gonna puke. I always knew it would be who it was. I mean, everyone did, but I've just been let down so many times by so many other series that I was just half expecting him to be like, I'm just not gonna do love because love is dumb, and he eats dinner with his sister. So that didn't happen, and good things did happen. But even for the characters that good things did not happen to, everyone still smiled at the end of the day, and it felt like life would continue to go on. And so maybe things will happen past this, and it'll all have to stick in our heads. But for the time being, I am quite happy with the resolution, and I don't know. It's just a perfect ending to a show I care so much about.
I think one of the most rewarding things about the final few episodes of the season were that you got to see a lot of the characters like finally forced to break out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because, they have what they believe their character to be and what they want to portray their character as. But, the circumstances surrounding them and their relationships with each other force them to break out of that and, be a little more earnest and open and explore their feelings and how diverse their emotions and personality can be. That was fun.
Well said. All right, now we just need the Komachi season, and it's going to be her teen romantic comedy is wrong as she expects, and it's going to be all about her and Ishiki falling in love at the end. All right, well, that's all I have to say about summer.
I will say, I'm glad that all of my shows made it through uninterrupted. After spring, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, that's quite a feat.
Yeah.
Good
Obviously, a lot of them, were carried over from spring because they got delayed, and a lot of them that were supposed to start in summer originally did not. But everything that I was watching once it was all underway made it through to the end. So I think we're kind of past that stage, hopefully. Except Kingdom, which started in spring, aired like an episode, and is now returning in spring of 2021, which is bizarre.
Weird.
Yeah.
All right. Well, summer is over. Fall has started. Some shows got picked up really late. I know that happens every time, but I was like 3 days before some is like I was waiting for. Of course, one show I was waiting for. I'm like, okay, how come nobody's picked this up yet? Finally, they're like, oh yeah, we have that. Is it just me or no Netflix swooping in grabbing things? Is that just because this year's been so
Keep them
up?
away.
I mean,
Get out of here, Netflix.
That's kind of how I feel, but like it's kind of I was like, oh, something like as we were getting further and further along, I was thinking, I'm like, are some of these like no, because they would have announced it way in advance. So
this is the first season that I am ever watching more on Funimation than I am on Crunchyroll, which is
that's crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah, compared to what I was like, you break down the list and it's like Funimation got some
like
finally
everything.
hit the anime lottery. Yeah, like because half the time it's like, oh, they picked up a thing that's going to be trash because of course it's something I'm going to review. No, it didn't happen this time.
Yet.
Yeah, I think out of my 10, only 3 are on Crunchyroll.
Wow.
Yeah, and
I've
that's
still got
like
slightly more on Crunchyroll, but it's almost half and half.
There are, I don't know if the scale is gonna tip by the end, because I think there are still 5 or 6 shows I want to watch that have not aired yet.
Mm-hmm.
But right now it's 7-3, Funimation.
Wow.
Yeah, both of the shows I'm watching are on Funimation.
Kate, what are the shows you're watching?
I am watching Sleepy Princess in the Demon Castle, because I'm also reviewing the manga. That wasn't my original plan, but the other show I was thinking about reviewing, Chris linked me our other reviewer's review of it that said it was trash, so I decided not
Which one was that?
The witch one where she's flying around and looking at shit.
How many fucking witch shows are there this season?
Too many.
Wandering Witch? That one? The one that
Wandering
Kane
Witch,
and I were talking about?
Oh.
You said that was trash?
Yeah, that's a hot fucking take.
Yeah, that doesn't, like, I can understand, like, average or something, but there is no reason for anyone to call it trash. It just doesn't make sense.
I don't know if the wording was trash. That was my succinct. I looked at the score and the score was not good. I was like, oh, that's not. Yeah.
Well, do you agree with the other reviewers' scores?
I don't know.
Because then how do you know that you agree with that opinion?
I didn't get that into it. I trust our reviewers. I have no idea.
Well, I think all of us have it in the B range.
It was. I was either going to review that or Sleepy Princess, and I'm glad I grabbed Sleepy Princess, even though I've already read the manga. So, yeah, that Now I'm gonna look up what the score was. The other thing I am watching is something that several of you guys are watching, which is
Weird.
That is weird.
Yeah, weird. That happened for once. That doesn't happen very often.
I think Vinland Saga is the only other time that's happened.
Yeah. Ikebukuro Westgate Park. So
I'm not watching that.
I am. It's a show.
Not quite a Vinland Saga. Not all of us.
I mean,
more
there are
like
a lot of dudes in it.
No, I just mean like in terms of all of us watching a show.
It's
it
a
has about the
Dororo.
same. Yeah, it's got about the same ratio of dudes to women. So
One
in the
girl,
show.
and she's 12.
Yeah, I think she was just there for that one episode.
I think so. Yeah.
Huh.
It's a dude show, like just not
You
like
mean it's
four
a
dudes,
G-boy
but like
show?
it's a G-boys. I love that that's their name. Yeah. Let's talk about that. I think it's a show. Okay, who's next?
Oh, I want to go. I'm actually doing something different this season with all
You're
my
watching
shit.
anime.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
It sounded ominous.
No, as in I'm taking notes after I watch an episode, so I remember what I thought. So I'm not
Wow.
just coming up
Okay.
with shit.
Look at this guy being prepared.
Yeah, well, I try hard around here. Someone's got to do some work. So yeah, G-Boys is an awful gang name. Was the first thing I wrote down.
I think it's the best gang name.
It's so terrible.
Yeah, that's
Like-
why it's great.
What's the G stand for?
Gang.
Gang.
Gang boys.
Gang boys. Yeah, I thought it couldn't get any worse. I also thought it was. I put down lol at the horrible drug just being weed.
Right? It's like they made it sound like they were gonna be busting some like fucking angel dust shit, and then
Yeah,
they just
I
like
thought it was
walk
gonna
into
be,
some
like,
dude's
fucking
apartment
heroin.
and he's growing
No,
pot.
the drug. If you actually were like paying attention to what they're talking about, it was like the drug that the guy was actually dealing. They were worried about sounded like bath salts, and it just happened that when they broke into the dude's place, they also found a grow room. And then they're like, "Oh my god, it's a grow room! Also, there's the drugs we're looking for. They're over there, but we can plant this way easier." But it was like the short. That was what killed me. Was the shorthand for like, "Oh my god, this guy's real bad." As they broke into a beautiful looking grow room, I'm like, that looks like my neighbor's house. What?
Oh my god. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I actually wondered if that is because apparently this is based off a novel series that might be older.
Oh, probably.
Yeah,
I feel like Japan still has that view of marijuana.
Japan.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know how
Weed's
they
very
felt
good.
about weed right now.
Bad.
It's
about the same.
so different in America that it was just like that was.
Yeah, in the
It's
last
funny.
20 years, we went from like 420 to like 420. Go get
It's just
some.
a day.
So like, Although okay, our gift to you, Japan, you have a lot of nice legal footage of grow rooms to source from your inspiration for.
Yeah, talk a fuck about it. That was a fucking primo grow room. It was amazing.
Yeah, those plants looked great. Those
Yeah.
plants were amazing looking. It's
I don't
like,
even smoke weed, and I thought it was impressive.
yeah, I was like, wow, that's a hell of a grow room. That's a very professional, situation going on there. But
So
yeah,
as soon as they showed the little baggies with the green stuff in it, I was like, oh, this is weed they're talking about.
they're like, oh, they're mixing stuff in with all this other not chemical stuff. I'm like, you're describing bath salts, but okay. Or something else laced with something else. But my favorite part was it's like you have this super grounded reality series, and what the other lead character described the drugs as basically they make your brain cells explode. I'm like, no
Nailed
drugs is that. I'm like, that's not.
Fucking
I'm like,
crushed it.
I'm like, why didn't you just call it bath salts? Why didn't you just call it like the chemical name of whatever a thing would actually be? You had to go like into fantasy drug land rather than just using something that's actually out there that's bad.
Yo, Kate,
like-
obviously you didn't pay attention in the DARE program.
Yeah, it was very 1980s, like scare you straight kind of
Yeah,
nonsense.
for sure. The other
it was-
thing...
Yeah,
Oh,
the
sorry.
opening of the whole episode was them like running down a junk, like one random like high guy because he was high.
It's
Yeah, and they didn't
like the
explain
G
why?
Boys hate drugs.
No.
Drugs are the enemy of the G Boys. They're the gang against drugs.
Which is
Come
fucking
on.
horse shit.
Hey, JoJo did that too.
But at least JoJo's not in a gang. That was one of my big questions about the episode was, if the G-Boys hate drugs so much, where is all the money coming from?
Right?
No,
like, where does this all come from?
JoJo Part 5, like, all the main characters are gangsters in a gang that hate drugs and everything about them.
That's true. I forgot about that. But that doesn't count because I said so. But this G-Boys gang, where's all the money for the cars and the steaks and the suits and shit coming from? Do they pay
really
dues?
Curious about that. I didn't even think about that until you brought it up.
Yeah, do all the members pay dues?
It is always funny to see, like, gangs put in this positive light where they, like, hate everything that's bad that gangs actually do, that organized crime actually exists for, and they kind of skirt around what their business actually is a lot of the time.
Yeah, maybe they're just like, pachinko parlor people or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I hope we
Gambling
find
is
out.
usually
'cause-
the safe vice that they go with.
Yeah, and also, it seems like the G-Boys are a big gang, right? Lots of dudes.
There are a lot of fucking dudes.
And a couple
lot of boys.
girls.
Lots of boys.
Yeah, a lot of people. So how did the drugstore that was apparently backed by a rival gang not know about the G-Boys? Because those dudes walked into that store dressed entirely in blue, looking shady as fuck. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? Like, I liked the episode, don't get me wrong. I think Makoto is in a cool spot being like a Batman that's approved by all sides.
Yeah, he's not a G-boy. He's just
No.
a guy who works at a grocery store.
Yeah, he's like friends with the cops, friends with this other detective.
I can't wait
best
for
friends with the leader
horrible
of the
things to
gang.
happen to him.
Oh, the horrible thing is coming.
Yeah, like
it's all
they're
like,
coming.
oh,
the
especially
hor-
the foreshadowing at the end of the episode with the rival gang just be like, oh, there's the dude who ratted us out. It's like, yeah, you're fucked, man. Say
Well,
bye to
also
your
the
mom
horrible
or
thing
whoever.
is in the synopsis. Like, right in the synopsis when you read
Yeah,
it at
it's
the
all like
beginning.
so now at this point I'm just going, okay, is his mom gonna get bumped off because she's literally the only family member of his we've met.
I thought the girl was gonna get bumped off, to be honest.
If they killed a fucking 12-year-old in the first episode, that would have been ridiculous.
That would have been insane, and it would have been an A+.
Holy shit. That would have been, oh my god, shock value.
Yeah.
She was just a stand-in for the audience so that they could exposition their way around who these characters are and what they do.
No, they had to make Makoto look like a good guy. Like he's clearly
like-
a cool dude because he hangs out with a 12-year-old and is like a dad to her instead of being creepy.
Yeah, he hangs out with a 12-year-old and takes her inside drugstores.
Yeah, great guy.
Cool shit.
Yeah. He could have been like, no, you can't come
In
with
his-
me, and then
well,
locked her in a car or something.
in his defense, you can't lock a girl in a room. That's illegal. He did tell her not to come, so he did his part.
Yeah.
He really put that effort in.
And he did go out of his way to, like, get her back out of there once they were like, oh, fuck, we've been made, let's run.
Yeah, because she
'Cause
fucking
she
throws
had
a
zero
bottle at
chill.
one of the guys.
Yeah,
Just like,
zero
drugs!
chill.
Throw a bottle.
You mean the
Oh my
jar
God.
of the premium herbs.
The premium herbs!
I
was the best line in the
screenshotted
show.
that. I
Yeah,
want
this-
that to be a meme.
It's show is completely ridiculous, but it's fun.
Yeah, I liked it. I definitely
Me too.
enjoyed it.
I talked so much shit on it, but it was good.
Yeah,
There was just so many questions.
It's a good shit talking because it's like actually like you could tell like some love actually went into the production of this, and it's not
Definitely.
just like whatever, because it's like the whole show takes place at night, but you can actually see everything that's going on, which is my test of like how much do they actually give a shit about this show and the material they're adapting.
Also, the cops and the G-Boys must have, like, a truce, because there's no way the cops didn't know about all the crimes the G-Boys did to frame that drugstore.
How many breaking and enterings did you guys do? All of them.
Oh, and then we
breaking
stole
and
some
enterings.
drugs from his house and planted them in the drugstore.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, hey, you might want to go there, you might find some drugs. Cool.
We won't ask how they got there.
I cannot wait to see how this pans out, especially
Oh, man.
because at least if I've learned anything from other, like, The Sopranos and other, like, gang, and now those are mafia, which is different, but like gang-related pieces of media, the gangs never do a nice thing for you without expecting some payback of some type. Whether
I
it's
hope
like
they make
getting...
Makoto like a hitman.
I mean,
fun.
that'd be the shit, because the police obviously don't care.
I mean, the last shot of that the opening rocks, by the way, or something. And the last shot is just him glaring very angrily at the camera, so you know shit's going down.
It's gonna have to. I mean, he just fucked up like a drugstore for apparently a gang dressed in red, so I'm gonna assume they're like the R Boys. I hope they have a terrible name. I hope it's like the G Boys and the Pastry Men.
The Pastry Men.
Pastry Man. Oh, I'm gonna look it up. Ikeburo Westgate Park anime.shoanime.com.
It should be pretty good though, because yeah, most people said that the live action series is really good. So, I mean, as long as you just follow that blueprint, you should be okay.
Oh yeah. The other thing is, the whole time, and this was super distracting, is Makoto is wearing this hoodie that says "Smoking Kills" on it.
It's ironic.
English. I know, it's hilarious, but I'm like, oh my god, I can't stop staring at your fucking hoodie.
You think the drug people would be suspicious the minute he walks in with that t-shirt on?
I didn't even think of that.
I think I read English. Alright, so we got the G-Boys. Guess the name of the rival gang.
Is it also bad?
That's not as bad.
Okay.
The fucking... I don't know. Just tell me.
I mean, it's pretty bad, but it does have red in the name.
Ooh,
Red,
the Red Dragons.
Nope,
that's
but close.
The red... What was it on Legends of the Hidden Temple?
Ooh.
the whatever it was on that. The red parakeets, maybe? I don't know.
No. But it is a thing. It is a noun. They are the Red Angels.
Ugh.
Angels. Damn.
Puke.
Surprised none of these guys have teardrop tattoos on their faces.
What if the G stands for God? Then they're God Boys versus
They're
the
a Christian
Red Angels.
gang.
They're a Christian gang. I love it. Yeah.
That would be awesome. I'm looking forward to how this pans out.
I know, there's not a lot of information on the website. I was looking for more character information. They literally like have 4 characters.
Do we is there more that we wanted to say about Ikebukuro Westgate Park, or can I use this opportunity to segue into another show about gangs this season?
Nope, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so there's Ikebukuro Westgate Park, and then there's Hypnosis Mike, which is the other gang show this season, and it takes place in Japan, but all weapons, in like knives and everything's been outlawed, and the only way to settle disputes is by rap battling. And
How
so
do people cut their food?
there are all these fucking gangs that are like trying to control Japan, and they're portrayed as actual gangs and like kidnapping people and shit, and they'll like surround you and be like, all right, time to die, and then they'll just all take out mics instead of guns, and it's the fucking most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, and it's horrible, and I love it. So
does the rap actually hurt?
Yeah, like they're physically pained. The reason for it is that they have developed special microphones that when, like, I guess you rap well into the microphone, it can make people feel certain ways. And so you've got 4 groups of really good rapping trios who just go around fucking beating the shit out of other gangs with the power of rhyme. And it's awesome.
So these are just gangs of bards.
Yes. They're gangs of bards, and like each one has like their own fucking quirk. Like they're like the Busta Bros are just like the gangsters who are just like normal street kids, but then there's another group like called like Nautilus or some shit, where one dude is like a Navy guy, one dude is like a fucking policeman, and the other guy is like the leader of a Yakuza family or something.
So they're the village people?
That's what I was gonna say.
One of the most conceptually ridiculous shows I've ever watched, and I can't wait to drop it after 3 episodes.
Is there a lot of production value?
No.
Okay. Great.
I mean, yes, But no, like, it doesn't matter at all. All of the rapping is like super flashy. Like, they go into the CG mode, so it's like, okay, I'm a cartoon now, but I'm a CG rapper. And it's just ridiculous effects, like a fucking giant shark in the background and shit. It's insane. I can't believe people let this show be made.
I mean, you almost make it sound enjoyable.
It is, in the most ridiculous way possible. It's just, from start to finish, it's just, you can't believe that they're actually doing what they're doing. Because it's so serious. But it's not serious at all. Yeah, so that sums up Hypnosis Mike.
And
so
you gave that a C?
I gave it a C, but in my heart it's an A.
Excellent, stupid premise. See,
Yeah.
that's anime as fuck.
It really
It
is.
is
It's
so
the distillation
anime.
of all things anime. Is that all you have to say about it? I mean,
Yeah, I
can you
just
say much
wanted
more
to
about
talk
it?
about how ridiculous that show is for a little while. I can't say much more about it because the entire first episode was just introducing the different rap groups, and they all had like a 3-minute rap song. So that's fucking half
Wow.
the episode right there. Oh, also,
Amazing.
apparently the world in Hypnosis, Mike, is controlled by women, and the women are apparently using rap to like manipulate the men into hating each other instead of women. And I can't tell if it is extremely feminist or extremely anti-feminist.
Sounds about right.
That is a very thin line to be walking.
It's
Yeah.
like, it's one or the other, and I can't figure out which one it is.
Amazing.
Yes, so that sums up my thoughts on Hypnosis, Mike.
Excellent. So we can move on to something else?
Yeah, like a real anime.
Okay. I mean, this sounds like the realest of the anime.
It's so real.
But why don't we move on to let's talk about Wandering Witch, because
Yeah.
3 of us are watching it. And
3
Kate
of us are watching
should
it.
be watching it.
Yeah, but she read one guy's review who apparently gave it a bad grade.
She gave the second volume a C.
Oh, the manga.
And I said, I don't want to review another mediocre show this season, so I'm going to go with Sleepy Princess. Because at least I know the source material and that it's good, so.
I don't know if I'd like this as a manga. I don't think it would hit me as hard as like seeing actual animated characters. But I like it a lot. I have a soft spot for witch shows. And this
Me
one
too.
Flying Witch for Life.
Hell
and
yeah.
this one is it's pretty textbook. But it's textbook executed well, and I really care for the protagonist girl already. And it was like the entire first episode takes place over the course of like 4 years, but it doesn't really feel rushed at any point, I feel. And it's more than enough to really get a good grip on her character and like what she wants to do with her life, and it just sets the stage for what I hope is going to be a super fun and super heartwarming journey. And if it's anything like the first episode, I'm going to have a very good time with it.
I'm actually surprised that you only gave it a B+, considering you said that you were almost moved to tears.
Yeah, I mean,
That is true.
yeah, well, I am very easily moved to tears by girls who are just doing their best. And so she was very much doing her best, and I loved her for it. But when you sit down and you look at it from like an actual critical standpoint, it's not like the show does anything like impressive, like off the bat. It's a pretty normal show that's executed well. It hasn't gone above and beyond yet. And so for that reason, I have it at a B+. But I think it could go to much greater spots.
Yeah, I mean, this show already had a lot going for me as well before I watched it, because I also, DJ, am always
Hell yeah.
smitten with witch shows.
They're so cute.
Especially witch shows where being a witch is like a normal career path.
Yeah, it's just like a thing that they do.
Yeah, it's just like, I want to be a witch. All right.
We'll
Sounds
support
good.
you, daughter. It's okay.
Speaking of support, best parents. Those parents are great.
Yeah, and then they hired someone to torment their daughter for the next month.
Which is a great character building exercise.
Absolutely. That's pro parenting right there.
It really is.
Like my daughter's too good at everything. Can you just like make her not good at everything anymore? Just give her a little wake up call.
Yeah, as soon as she said everyone who took the test is so weak, I was like, you're gonna get fucked this episode. Because that's an instant ticket. I wrote down instant ticket to miserable reality check.
Yeah, she definitely set a flag there.
Yeah, and I'm sure her parents are like, oh, we need to nip this shit in the bud.
She's too cocky already. She's 14.
Yeah, so this show reminds me of Somali and the Forest Spirit in the same ways that I thought it was going to be in Iyashike, and it has a lot of those elements that it executed well. Like DJ said, it has the great looking food, the amazing scenery, relaxing music, and uplifting bits. But there is, some action. There's some undertones of maybe some kind of danger, sort of like a Kino's Journey kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see where it goes from there, because Somali started out all nice, and then it eventually turned into everybody wants to kill this girl. Like, real bad.
God, I hope that doesn't happen this time. She's not ready.
No, she's not, though she did a great job getting fucking Miyagi'd, so...
Oh my god, it was perfect. Yeah,
hopefully
the first
hopefully
episode was
helps.
just the Karate Kid.
But, the biggest thing, to wheel it around to what I originally started with and what I wrote down, is just the show had my support already with the creator not wanting pantsuit shots in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm all about this, because...
It's wholesome. It's just a
and
wholesome
everyone
show.
here knows my opinions on, like, fan service for the sake of fan service and how much I hate it. And I was like, oh, good. He said, please do not put that in here. And it already had my support at that point. But yeah, I definitely agree with DJ. It's good and I like it, but as of this point, it's not like it's revolutionizing the genre or anything like that.
I'm just excited to see where it goes from here. Because it's
the
all about a
question
wandering witch. She's going to have a journey. I want to be there.
The only question I had at the end was Ashen Witch versus Wandering Witch.
Which
nickname?
The show will probably, by the end of her journey, she'll have become the Wandering Witch, I imagine. But right now, it's the Ashen Witch.
I'm assuming that's what's going to happen, but the Ashen Witch is badass. I agree with Stardust Witch. Good name.
It's a really good name.
It is a really, really good name. I would take that. Because I would be Ginger Witch, and that sucks.
Yeah, it's a significantly less cool name.
It is way lamer. Kestrel, what did you think of it? I know you said it didn't really affect you as profoundly, but you still gave it a pretty, a B-, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, again, I wasn't expecting DJ to give it something in the B range when he almost cried at it. I think I share similar opinions on the overall quality of the show. I just don't particularly care about witches, so I guess I didn't have that extra bias to bump it up. I just think it's a good, competent production, and it has a lot of potential. And yeah, I definitely appreciate the very deliberate lack of fan service.
Yeah, that was refreshing, and I hope it continues down that path. I don't want her to wander into a Sodom and Gomorrah type situation.
That would not be fun. That
wouldn't be fun at all.
I want this to be a wholesome journey.
Yeah,
the
fact that he started out by directing his staff to not have any panty shots gives a pretty good impression of the kind of audience he's going for.
And I'm all about it.
Yeah,
good man.
Indeed. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and it seems like at least the two of you are looking forward to it enough. DJ obviously more than Kestrel, but yeah, I hope it grows into something pretty good, because I always love witch shows, and witchy Yashike shows are just ugh, hell yeah. Kestrel, did you want to talk about something else, or Kate? You said you were watching two shows. The other one's Sleepy Prince. Oh, we already got those.
Oh yeah, I'll use your not skeeviness thing as a segue for Sleepy Princess. Another show that is extremely wholesome and doesn't have any questionable skeevy nonsense in it for the sake of questionable skeevy nonsense is Sleepy Princess. You're getting you're getting what amounts to a twisted fairy tale where you have the princess who is kidnapped by the Demon King, locked away in a castle, and a hero is sent to rescue her. That's not what the show is about. The show is about the princess in Demon Castle trying to get a good night's sleep. To the point where she breaks out of her cell, goes on a rampage to get bedding material so that she can make herself a better pillow, a better sheet, a better everything she wants for so that she can just sleep.
I've been that tired before. I get it.
Yeah, that's a very relatable premise.
We've all been there.
Yeah, she is probably the most relatable heroine that you could ever possibly want in an anime show, because all she wants to do is just sleep.
That's what that fucking show Tanaka-kun is always listless from like 2 or 3 years ago was literally about. Just a dude who wants to sleep. That's a fun trope. Just
I think that show
tired
was like
character.
5 years ago.
Was it really that long?
It feels so.
I just remember. I think it was the
this point.
same season that like Haven't You Heard I'm Sakamoto is out.
Yep.
And it was
I think
like
that
the
was summer
coolest
2015.
dude and the least cool dude
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the same
I remember
season.
that. Yep.
I really liked Sakamoto.
He's the coolest dude ever. He's so cool.
he
There's
is so
literally
cool.
like everything that he just should have done, he did to become the best.
So I know very little about the Sleepy Princess show. Like, how old is she? Is she like a little kid, or?
Yeah.
It's she's not a little kid. It's kind of a running joke that nobody's quite sure what her age is. She is older than she looks. I would say she's probably like 18, 19, maybe 20. It's hard to say because they get into it a little bit later where she's like, yeah, I used to be busy all day doing paperwork and administrative stuff, and they're like, wait, what? And because it's kind of a joke too, because the demons are like, you're a child, but of course demons also live for like thousands and thousands of years, so there's like this whole skewed like age perspective on, she's just this cute, sheltered, petite princess girl, but she's older than she looks, so she's not like 12, she's probably late teens, and they make use of like video game tropes, but only insofar as it's like, oh, the hero's on a quest and the demons keep trying to like set up obstacles in his way that sound more like they're setting up, like video game dungeons. And like, they're like, oh, we're gonna put this item here to try to stop him in his tracks because he's heading this way to try to rescue the princess. And yeah, and it's very quickly they're gonna get a rude reality check about their captive. And then Stockholm Syndrome kind of sets in, but then, like, reverse Stockholm Syndrome, and then, yeah. But, I see I've read most of the manga, so a couple of volumes behind the English release. So the first episode is, like, literally the first week that she is trapped in the Demon Castle, and what she does to acclimate herself to being a captive in the Demon Castle. But, it is a straight comedy, not too much. I don't know if we'd call it slapstick. It's not like there's physical humor, but it's not like physical humor entirely. It's mostly like, I don't know. It's comfy. The show is very comfy. It looks good. It sounds good. The voice actors are good for the roles. I'm going to be interesting to see who they cast for the English version whenever that gets made. But I'm happy with how it's turning out so far. It is very cute and very, like I said, monster mashy, where it's like everybody in the Demon Castle is all like, classic, like horror monsters. There's like goblins,
So like Draculas and shit.
Yeah, vampires and Frankenstein-esque monsters and ghosts and stuff. And these things that are just, like, literally, like, the first thing you run into in the show are these things that are just teddy demons, and they're teddy bear demons. And they're just adorable. And, of course, the princess is like, oh, they'll make a good pillow, and she's about ready to, like, stab them and rip them open to turn them into bedding. And then she reneges and decides that she's just going to brush the fur to get the fur, so.
I did appreciate when she saw the beautiful cape that she could make a sheet out of, and then saw that it was a living creature, and then just fucking cut it in half anyway.
Yep.
To
Straight
use its flesh as bedding.
Yeah, she made a deal with the scissors demon for a pair of scissors, and then went on a rampage, killing ghost shrouds. So basically, like how ghosts are depicted like just being white sheets floating around. She basically goes after a bunch of those and just murders them, and then takes their corpses.
Badass.
Yeah, that is pretty badass.
As someone who also sleeps with a corpse on top of them, wait, never mind.
I like how you juxtapose the words, "This is a comfy show," with slaughters, ghost sheep, demons, and teddy bears.
Both are very true.
Yep. The princess falls into lava and has to be resurrected.
It's true. The protagonist dies in the first episode, but she gets better.
Yep.
She gets better.
Yep. They're like, "Oh no, resurrect her." So they kind of introduce all the other characters that are gonna come into play later on, but they don't they don't get much time to like flesh out their characters in the first episode, but they will. Especially like the Demon King and the Demon Cleric. So, yeah, it's very it's a good adaptation of the manga. It's the kind of lighthearted nonsense that everybody can get behind right now. And yeah, it's the Nozaki team doing it. So, huzzah!
Yeah, the thing that this title always makes me think of is the second Dragon Ball movie was called Sleeping Princess in Devil's Castle, which is remarkably similar. It's actually the first thing that Funimation ever dubbed was that movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Taking it full circle.
Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, it's weird to me that the titles are so incredibly similar. But yeah, it's a fun show. Very light so far. Like there's not much to dig into. It's just a fun time.
It's just a fun comedy. Characters do get developed more as the series goes on, so but yeah, it remains kind of just like you look at the premise and you're like, oh, Princess is always trying to get a good night's sleep. This can't possibly hold up for like more than 2 volumes. Meanwhile,
yeah, so far in the first episode it's definitely very vignette-y and gag based. It's just like you have the one premise and you have a few short stories that premise could lead into back to back. I don't know how long it goes with that formula, or if it's able to hold that formula, or if it becomes something more.
It stays pretty. It's weird. It stays pretty episodic, but there's the continuity. So like in this episode, you saw her make her little like fabric crown, and make her basic bedding and stuff in the pillows. That stuff carries. Like she will have that pair of scissors for the rest of the series, and continue to make use of it. Like the manga artist creator is carries over like events that happened. Like nothing is forgotten, and time continues to pass too. So it's kind of interesting to watch, what she does build up and build up and build up over time. Nothing is without consequences, we'll put it that way. But I don't know. It should be a good time. We're only going to get through a fraction of what's the material that's available, even at the really quick pace that most of those chapters go at. But it's good. It's cool. If you need something fun to watch, it's there. It's a good palate cleanser.
You know what scorched my fucking palate?
Oh God.
Was Moriarty. I don't. If it's all right, I'd like to. I know Kestrel, you watched it, right? And gave it a C+.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think DJ or Kate watched it. So, if you don't mind, if you want to chat about that,
thinking
for a
about
moment.
it.
It's something. It's something. I've got some notes about it.
Oh, he's got notes.
Kane's notes are my new favorite thing.
Yeah, Kane. I'm here for Kane's notes. So
Well, I actually wrote these down like kind of as I was watching it because I was trying to cook dinner at the same time. But so the first thing I wrote down is I'm actually surprised at how well, at least for an anime, the show adheres to the period. Like, nobody showed up in like bright red leather chaps, like with their nips hanging out or anything.
Nice. It's a good sign.
Yeah, the hair's a
What?
little anime, so there is that, and everyone's pretty. But
well, that's yeah.
for the most part, it sticks to, I think it's Victorian England. I'm not sure. Emily was telling me about it because she knows history. But
Sherlock times.
yeah, Sherlock times. So that was good. Like the outfits were plain but stylish, and the haircuts were generally kept in control as far as animes are concerned. But that's what I noticed first, and was a big positive because I wholly expected it to be like an anime. I can't think of any other way to put it. But Kestrel, I wanted to ask you because I couldn't figure this out since you watched it. Are William and Lewis like real brothers?
I think
Like,
they.
what the fuck is that?
Yeah, I think they were real brothers who were adopted together.
But one of them just happens to be the butler for the other.
Yeah, it's
What
weird.
is that?
I don't really know that dynamic or why that is the case.
Yeah, so DJ and Kate, essentially the show opens with Moriarty, and you're like, oh, it's pretty blonde Moriarty. Very cool. He has like an identical brother, but his brother is his servant.
Weird.
Yeah, for like no seeming reason yet. He just happens to be... Kestrel, did you get Sebastian vibes off both of them the whole time?
Oh, yeah. Oh, totally.
Okay, so yeah, I did too. I was just waiting for Moriarty to finish the episode saying he's one hell of an investigator. And
One
that's
hell
what
of
I
a
fucking
criminal
wanted.
consultant.
Yeah, I'm one hell of a criminal consultant, as he put it. The only other two notes I had anymore were, this shit popped off. So, essentially, what we're watching at this point now is Street Justice Sherlock.
Mm-hmm.
In that, so most Sherlock Holmes things ends where Sherlock catches the bad guy and then hands him over to the cops. How this episode ended was Moriarty caught the bad guy and then allowed one of the parents of the victims to brutally murder him inside a mausoleum and then close the door and let the body rot. So
Yeah, because
Nice.
Moriarty's whole thing is, he's a criminal consultant. He's got to create the perfect crime. So, yeah, this kind of balances... He's also basically Sherlock in this world because he is the perfect investigator and solves all these crimes. But then he does the Moriarty criminal type thing and, gets justice in a different kind of way. In a way that is criminal.
yeah, I wrote down Street Justice Sherlock and then I wrote Hot Topic Sherlock on top of that. Because that's what it felt like. Because, yeah, he feels like Sebastian because he has long hair, but it's blonde. And then he's very slender and he has red eyes. Like, you could tell where the inspiration came from. And then my only other note was I supposed to feel good about that ending?
I'm curious to see how much of the series is like that. And, yeah, how it portrays, like, the moral compass. Because I know that Sherlock and John Watson will become characters in the series. So we'll see how it develops once we have like the antagonists who are the good guys, how that dynamic plays out and how we're meant to feel about each side. But I mean, you can have villainous protagonists, certainly, like, Death Note's a great example. So I expect something along those lines where like the protagonist is a piece of shit criminal, but you're kind of rooting for him, and he'll probably get his justice at the end. I'd kind of guess that it would be something along those lines.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I don't know. It's just because they kill him, and of course they use like it's nighttime, and Moriarty has to smoke a cigarette for some reason. even though he
Because it
hasn't.
looks cool and dramatic.
Well, he hadn't smoked the whole episode, even though he was in a smoking club at one point.
It's true.
But he chooses to smoke here so he can give one of the kids' dads time with the criminal, which is where the brutal murder happens. And then they proceed to cut to his fucking tailor shop with just head rush blistering J-pop as they show a picture of the kid and then a frame button off of the kid's jacket, and it's like, justice has been served. The bad guy lost. I was like, the bad guy got just demolished. Like, I don't know if it's really justice or not. Like, normally I'm all about it, but for some reason it just made me feel kind of weird.
Yeah,
because the way they tried to frame it in the end, like they framed it as completely justified and everything's cool and nothing is ever bad is going to happen again. In terms of this, like, you also killed that dude as a lord, like a high-ranking social man, and they're going to find that body. So I don't fucking know, but man, it popped off and I'm all about it. Like, I am all about it. I was half and half until then. And then once that, like, the ending happened, I was like, okay, I'm fucking buckling my seatbelt. I am in for this show now.
Yeah, if this is, like, the perfect crime, and they just leave the body lying there after letting some amateur just have his way with him murdering him in a fit of rage, I'm curious how they can justify that being the perfect crime in a world where Sherlock Holmes exists.
Yeah, I feel like maybe, these are just some trial runs while he sort of irons out his technique.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it'll be interesting. I was sort of surprised he wasn't in the episode, like, at all, as in Sherlock. Like, wasn't involved in, even in, like, a passing mention, other than in the beginning, where the father admonishes his child for reading.
Yeah, something that was interesting about this, the show officially starts on October 11th, and this episode was labeled as episode 0, and I've heard that it is not from the manga, it's an anime original. So maybe it's more of like a prologue, and we'll get the story proper beginning next time, and, you know, maybe we'll learn more about the Moriarty brothers, and we'll meet Sherlock and Watson.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited to see how they play this. Because, yeah, it could be cool like Death Note, or it could just be way over the top and, like, too edgy and try hard.
Because Death Note wasn't way over the top and edgy.
It was smartly written, though. This this has some elements that, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not that enthused so far, so I'll give it some more time and see where that goes. I do find it, speaking of, like, weird connections, really interesting that last fall, also beginning officially on October 11th, and simulcast by Funimation, was another Sherlock anime, also animated by Production IG, also written by Taku Kishimoto. So
that's weird.
Yeah, we're in some kind of weird time loop here.
What show is that?
The Japanese title was Kabukicho Sherlock, but they called it something weird that didn't have Sherlock's name in it in English, I guess, because, I don't know, they didn't want to get in trouble or something. But yeah, it was Sherlock, except in Kabukicho in modern times, which is the, you know, Japanese red light district, basically. I didn't watch it. I was curious because it was a Production IG show written by Taku Kishimoto, and I like Sherlock Holmes, but I heard it was pretty bad, and I had enough that season, so I didn't bother checking it out.
Well, hopefully this one turns out a little bit better, but I guess we'll see. Yeah, that covers all the stuff I watched, at least, so I am good. I am going to watch Burn the Witch eventually.
Yeah, and I was debating whether or not to include it on this list, because it's not like a series, it's just a movie broken into 3 parts, which are all out.
Exactly. So I didn't really know, like, can you watch all 3 parts at once, or is it a timed release?
No, it's all out.
Oh, so you can just watch the whole thing. Okay.
Yeah, the whole thing premiered on October 1st on Crunchyroll.
Cool.
Yep. Did you watch or read any of Bleach? Were you into that at all?
I was into it as much as any other, like, 10-year-old was when it was on Toonami. And by that I mean I was really into it.
You were older than 10.
Yeah, I'm sure I was a little bit older, but yeah, I remember watching and really following basically up to the end of, like, the rescuing Rukia arc or whatever, before apparently it goes into some filler.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I stopped, just because I read it goes into filler for a while, and I wanted to watch other things that weren't filler, and then I never picked it back up. But, so however long those first couple arcs are, I watched all that and liked it.
Okay.
I do know the manga apparently ended, like, badly.
Yeah. Yeah, some bad things happened in the series. A lot of trying too hard to extend it past its natural stopping point.
Ah.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, Burn the Witch obviously is the same creator, which is why it's like a big deal.
Is there any particular reason you give it like a C+? Is it just kind of like, eh?
Yeah, I mean, like, it has some ideas, but it seems more like a pilot than a film. Like, it seems like it wants to tell a big story, but what it has time for over the course of 60 minutes is like, yeah, it's kind of like mediocre Bleach material. Yeah, nothing feels particularly important or interesting or engaging. So I don't know. It looks fine. It's fun, I guess. If you like Bleach, then you kind of get that vibe a little bit again. It's all right.
Cool. Well, I'm sure I'll check it out eventually, because I had been meaning to, and if it's only, 3 parts, that, what'd you say, 60 minutes?
Yeah, I think they're about 20 minutes each.
Oh, well, then that's nothing.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, table's open for anything else you guys want to talk about, because I'm done, so.
I would like to hear Kestrel's first impressions of Higurashi, which he is experiencing for the first time in A form.
Yes. That was the beginning of a visual novel, and
Yep.
I don't like the beginnings of visual novels.
Yeah, nothing happens, and nothing... Yeah. Well, okay. I'm biased in my grading of this, because Higurashi is one of my favorite series of all time. And the first episode of this was basically the same exact first episode of the original series. So I loved it for that. I love that they didn't really change anything. And a lot of things are going to happen. And I don't know how quickly they're going to happen, because if they are going to stick with the same pattern as the original show, you can expect things to start happening soon. But I can't imagine them just remaking it and not changing anything, because the new visual style I'm not a big fan of. I don't think the show looks particularly good. But it definitely adds to the psychological horror, just like something is wrong sort of genre, and the fact that everything is just so bright and cheerful right now. So that I can appreciate. I understand why they made it look like this, but just visually speaking, I don't think it's anything special. It's definitely the beginning of a visual novel, though.
Yeah, and like, God, why do all the characters always have to be so fucking annoying?
Yeah,
and
yeah, they're like that. That's they kept the original cast too, which I love. But they're all very over the top characters in this show. That's kind of like how Yukishi 7 writes. Like, everybody's very exaggerated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really haven't experienced any of his stuff. Like, I would like to play Umineko, but I know that it would take a very long time, and I don't think I particularly like the medium of visual novels, as it turns out. I have the first 3 volumes of the manga, but past that, it's like impossible to find. So I don't know if I'll ever get through the story of Umineko in general.
It's a long fucking story.
Yeah, so now I'm at least experiencing Higurashi, but yeah, there's nothing I liked about the first episode.
Yeah,
I just
that
know
makes
that
sense.
it's going to become a good story, and I'll see if I can stand it for that long. Hopefully stuff happens very soon, because it's gonna wear on my patience if I have to deal with much more of this.
Will definitely happen very soon. But in the grand scheme, it's hard to say. It's also a tricky series.
Yeah. Yeah, the visual style, it's definitely like not particularly well animated. The fact that it's Akio Watanabe character designs, they're just so ridiculously recognizable. All of his characters look like, I mean, they don't look the same, but every character from any show that he has done character designs for has a corresponding character in every other show that he's done character designs for. You get, like, as soon as the show started and I saw that there were obviously Akio Watanabe character designs, I was like, oh, I wonder who's going to have the one thing in the corner of her mouth.
Yeah.
And a few minutes later, I saw the character, the girl with the one thing in the corner of her mouth. I was like, oh, okay.
She's always had that.
I wonder if that's why they hired him.
Probably. It's just like these match him. Yeah. Everybody is pretty like I don't know like what their first impressions were like for you, because it's been a long time since I experienced Higurashi for the first time, but they're all very, very memorable characters.
I fucking hate characters who have to say some nonsense sound
Rika
all the time.
Yeah. Nipa.
Oh my god.
For fucking
Shut up.
catchphrase.
It's not cute.
It was like 15 years ago. Like seeing it now, I was like, ooh, that's kind of cringy.
Cringy, yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely it's a lot more in your face in this version than the old one. Like the old time, it used to be just tack it on to like the end of a sentence every once in a while. Where now it's like there's a fucking, I guess because she's become so synonymous with that catchphrase, they fucking really like amp it up now. So
I'm so glad Clannad is the one key series that got away without that. I mean, Fuko is that character, but at least she doesn't have one of those catchphrases.
Yeah, the other key things did for the most. I don't think Angel Beats had a catchphrase either. I know Air did.
Well, I'm only counting the visual novels.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, it's technically a visual novel now.
Well, now it is. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I feel like that translates a lot better in visual novels than it does anime. It's kind of weird to just like say some made up word out of nowhere.
It's definitely very cringy in anime form.
Yeah. But I'm excited that you get to finally experience this. I know it's a little I guess daunting at first, but you'll soon start to understand like what sort of story this is.
I hope soon is soon, because like I don't know that
if
I can do another episode of this.
Going off of and this is just going off of the original series, if they follow that same pattern within the next 4 episodes, you can expect a climax. So
okay,
yeah.
I don't know how much more Meepa I've got.
It's gonna be a long 4 episodes.
Right, exactly. I mean, well,
we only got
I was
2
worried when you started
Meepas.
that sentence, but the implication is that next episode things start.
Yeah.
By episode 4 there's a climax.
The way Higurashi is structured in the visual novel and the original adaptation is it's set up into like story arcs, and all the arcs are completely separate from one another. And the first arc in the original anime is 4 episodes long. So we will see if this follows that same pattern. I don't know how much they plan to adapt in this version.
Right.
But like I was saying, it'd be
we'll
weird
see.
if they just like remade the original anime with a different look. Like they've got to change something. That's like what I'm confused about, because right now they haven't changed anything at all.
That is surprising.
Yeah. Okay. Let's Higurashi. What are we at time-wise now? We're at almost 2 hours, so before we move on to anything else, I'm just going to quickly talk about my number 1 for the season. I mean very quickly, because Love Live has no reason to be this good. I if anyone ever told me I'd at any point in my life give any Love Live series an A, I would punch them in the mouth, because it's not been good, its other two adaptations. But this one, they're just fucking flexing the amount of money they have now. The production value's so good in this, and CG idol dances, which are normally the worst thing in anime, in the new season of Love Live, are amazing. It's like,
I was gonna ask, are they still CG?
They are
good,
but it looks nothing like how it used to be, because both original Love Live and Sunshine were like, the visuals looked the same for the dancing, but in the new one they have more of a like a live 2D style kind of, and it looks like a polished video game. Like, just the amount of money they pumped into making those like music video scenes look good must be absurd, because they were awesome. And just everything about this show, when compared to the other installments of the genre, it's just, they've learned from their mistakes, and they have completely switched the formulas entirely, because the original two series were the same exact thing, just rehashed with new characters. And this time it's completely different. The fact that there's an actual protagonist that like isn't in the group. And yeah, so it's you follow the protagonist, and she's friends with the girl who goes on to be like one of the girls in the idol group. And it's just so different, because the characters actually feel like characters this time. Like, they have personalities, and they're not just like tropes that they transformed into idol girls. And I think if this is going to be anything like the latest mobile game, which is a strange sentence to say, I think that we can expect the characters to be developed significantly better than they have been in any other Love Live show, which obviously isn't saying a lot, but they're spending a lot of time kind of getting the personalities of the girls across before even trying to introduce the other ones so far. And it's only been one episode, so things could go horribly wrong. But right now, this show is so much better than it has any right to be. And I was not expecting it at all.
You're gonna get me to watch Love Live.
This is the one to watch if you're gonna watch them.
God damn it. See, I watched all of previous Love Live, and then I got to this season, and I was like, wait, why did I do that? I need to stop. But that was entirely based on the quality or lack thereof of the previous two series. So if this is like dramatically better,
it's so much better. It's a completely different show. Like, it feels weird even comparing it to the others. I don't know if they have like YouTube videos for like the two songs they put in the first episode up, but the first time they used like one of my favorite songs for the first song they show in the show, and so that was like the moment where I realized, like, holy fuck, they have money now. And it looks good. It's a great song, too. But, yeah, watch the first episode. If you don't like that, just don't watch the rest of it. Because I can't imagine it being better than the first episode was. It was a great start to a show that should be otherwise bad.
Alright, I guess I need to watch that episode then.
Cool.
Isn't Love Live like a huge property?
It is.
It's like the biggest shit. Like, they have no excuse for anything ever being, like, bad looking.
Yes, it's surprising then that the other stuff was bad looking, unless they just knew it didn't matter what they made.
That's exactly what it was. We're just like, we're going to make money no matter what we do. So let's just make the same thing again. And so they did. But now I guess they're running out of room to store all their money. And they're just trying to get rid of it.
That does make sense, yeah. Yeah, I think, like, the other half of my reason for not watching this show is that, as I said after Anime NYC last year, Love Live fans need to be stopped.
They do. They really do.
And so supporting any more Love Live kind of goes against that critical mission of stopping Love Live.
Mission to stop Love Live. It's just so weird. Like, this installment is so much different. Like, it feels like they actually cared about these ones, and it's strange to say that because of how big fucking Muse and Aqua are at this point. Like, they are just the money makers in the anime idol industry now.
their like spin-off subgroups are enough to be like the hottest shit
Yep.
at any J-pop concert with like the most amazing veterans of the industry.
That's like what's so different about Nijigasaki compared to the other versions, where it's like this formula is different in that they establish all of the girls through like solo performances before they even pair any together. And so it's you actually like have time to figure out what each character is and like what their motivations are and all that, instead of just like, here, cute girls, these three go together, give us your money. Which is how Love Live has been up until now.
Ugh. I'm watching more Love Live and that disgusting.
Yeah, so that's that. I just wanted to complain about how good it is for a little while.
Well, it sounds like you got Kestrel back on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
We'll see how good that
We'll
first
see.
episode is.
All right, well, does anybody else have anything to say about at least the old season or new season, since this is a transition episode? Or can we go right to the old recommendations?
Recommendations.
Sounds good to me. Does anybody have any recommendations?
I'm typing in right stuff into the computer right now.
Ah, very good.
Me and DJ thinks everybody should play Genshin Impact.
Yeah, that'll be mine and Kate's recommendation. Play Genshin Impact. It's free. Asterisk.
Yeah, very much asterisk.
Ignore the fact that I said last episode everybody should play Genshin Impact. And that was
Ahead
my
of the curve.
recommendation.
Yeah, I feel like you should have an asterisk on free that's like size 48 font.
It's free as long as you can control yourself.
Yeah, alright.
It's not my fault everybody's a gambling addict. What are you talking about?
Kestrel, do you have any recommendations on aren't gacha games?
Sure. So, in the continuing trend of steelbooks, I will go with the Your Name steelbook now has a general release. Previously, it was only available from Best Buy, I believe. Yeah, Best Buy. And on the same day that comes out, G-Kids is releasing another couple of their Miyazaki steelbooks. So this one will have My Neighbor Totoro and Princess Mononoke, which are two of the best Miyazaki and Ghibli movies, and anime movies in general. So yeah, get those. Also, I got I don't know if it's entirely an art book, but it's like I don't even know what you call these. But it's a book about the Final Fantasy VII Remake called Final Fantasy VII Remake World Preview. And it's, a nice big hardcover, like coffee table book with a nice dust jacket and stuff. And it's just got a bunch of like materials from the game, character profiles, gameplay mechanics, locations, story elements that are all kind of compared against the original game. And it's got a short story in the end about Aerith's past. So if you're into Final Fantasy VII Remake and you want more of it before we know when we're getting more of it, check that out.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I'm a little disappointed by the Ghibli steelbooks. Like, I don't know. I like steelbooks for sure. I was bitching about how we don't have enough, so I feel slightly hypocritical. But man, I look at them and I just wish there was more art.
Yeah, I mean, they go for the minimalist design. That's kind of the aesthetic. Some of them look better than others. I appreciate that we finally get releases that aren't the same pieces of art that we've gotten 100 times for every Ghibli movie, because they always just reuse the same art over and over and over. For these ones, like I'd say the My Neighbor Totoro isn't necessarily better art, but the artwork that's been used in every release of Totoro ever for the past 32 years has been that weird movie poster with the weird fusion of Mei and Sasuke, who doesn't actually exist in the movie. So I appreciate that we get a release of the movie without that weird amalgam girl. And then for the Princess Mononoke one, I'm glad that the previous G Kids releases finally gave us like the real movie poster, which is a super badass image, instead of the bizarre Miramax made up poster that Disney continued to use that has like Ashitaka biting the arm of Ashitaka, which is really weird.
That was fucked up.
Yeah, and they used that right up until Disney's last release in like 2015. So I'm glad that we finally got like the real movie poster of that in the other G Kids releases. So compared to that, the kind of minimalist picture of San that we get in this one isn't that exciting. And yes, both of these movies I do own twice. And Princess Mononoke, along with Spirited Away, I have now bought 5 times.
Holy moly.
But I have the Miyazaki collection, and I have the G Kids limited editions or collector's editions of 3 movies they did that for, which were Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, and My Neighbor Totoro. And now they seem to be doing these steelbooks for every Miyazaki Ghibli movie. So I'm getting all of those as well. So yeah, both of these movies I will own 3 times.
Yeah, like I was looking the other day at the Zavi steelbooks, which is like a big steelbook company, and I definitely like those. Like, and I wish that the ones we got would be more around that. So it's still minimalistic. I posted a link in there of just like the Only Yesterday steelbook, and it's still minimalistic, but I don't know. I just like how the art is framed and how it also kind of tastefully spills out of the frame that it gives itself every once in a while. And also it's like a white background, which I like. That some of the colors of the cases on the G Kids ones, I'm kind of like, eh. But yeah, I'm glad to see that we're getting them either way.
Wait, what? How does this work?
What?
These are being released by not G Kids?
Yeah, these are Zavi, so they do like UK steelbooks, like specials.
Okay. But this is US, right?
This is their US store. I'm not sure if the Blu-rays you get are Region A or not, but I know like steelbook collectors go to this site a lot to get cool as shit steelbooks, because they do like limited steelbook editions of all sorts of shit that's different than what we can buy basically anywhere around here. And I really like I like the art that's used on them in particular. But yeah, like I said, I'm not sure if the Blu-rays are Region A or Region B. Though I guess with the price, because it says a lot of these are at like $20, so if you just wanted the steelbook to have a nice steelbook, you could always just buy it and put your other Blu-ray in the steelbook case.
Right. Yeah, I think all of these G Kids steelbooks, this is how like the Japanese Blu-ray releases of the Ghibli movies were presented. So I think that's what they're going for.
Gotcha. Yeah, if we could get ones like that I knew would work in our Blu-ray players, that'd be nice. But I don't know if I necessarily have an anime recommendation, but I can say that as of today, you can pre-order the Lord of the Rings 4Ks. So definitely fucking do that if you like good movies at all. I think the normal edition is $90, and it can go up to $140 if you want the gift set that has all the cool shit in it. So go out and pre-order that. But anime, I was looking over the charts, and there really isn't much here outside of those like Ghibli steelbooks and the Your Name steelbook that I would also recommend. So that's it for me there.
Can you repeat your recommendation, because you completely cut out when you were saying what it actually was?
Oh, sorry. I said the Lord of the Rings 4Ks.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Discord is about ready to give up on Life, the Universe, and everything at this point.
One more time. 3rd time's charm.
Okay. Lord of the Rings 4Ks.
There we go.
Now that's an excellent recommendation.
Yeah. So get those, and also Kestrels.
Wait,
all of what he said.
Oh, yeah.
But that's it for me.
Close us out.
Kestrel, where can you find us?
Well, you can find us wherever you find podcasts. Please subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Alexa, Stitcher, SoundCloud, fandompost.com, and follow us on social media, Twitter and Facebook at Fandom Post Radio, and get in contact with us there, and fandompostradio@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at FullMetalKyoma. Also, check out my 20 years later article on Hajime no Ippo, which, given the timing, just became me gushing about discotheque for several thousand words.
Hell yeah.
Makes sense.
Who else?
I'm exclusive to the podcast.
You can find me on Twitter at DJ No Style.
Nothing else? You're not gonna...
You can find my game on itch.io and Patreon. Just look up Lessons in Love game on the internet, and it'll take you there. We're less than $1,000 away from the final goal. Hooray!
I like how in your Genshin Impact, that one spot where you have a line where you can sit and
I put my Patreon.
A plug for that. Yeah.
Damn right.
You can find me on Twitter at SonicBug. I didn't post last Friday because I'm being a bad person because I was probably playing Genshin Impact. Anyway, we need a topic for our next episode. So if you have any suggestions, please send them to us at one of the aforementioned locations. And we hope you enjoyed. And please tune in next time to Fandom Post Radio.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.